I'm Brian, this is Reggie, and this is R&B Talks.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Reggie. Hello, everyone. I hope your week has been good. It's kind of raining and sucky here, but that's all right. So how was your week, Reg?
It's good, man. I know every week when we do these episodes, I have this exasperated sigh, and I say, here's what happened this week, man. So for some reason, I have like 3 days could not sleep, no. Either I got woken up or there was something else or whatever. So I guess it was Thursday. And my wife looks at me, she goes, "Oh, you don't look good at all." And I was like,
Thanks.
It was like 5:30, and I'm like, I look like death warmed over, you know? She's like, yeah. Wow. I'm like, I said, I promise I'm not sick. I'm just struggling to stay awake and because I'm just done. Usually I can get minimal sleep for a few days, but at that I'm done. I know it. It's like that the middle of the next day. I'm like, okay, this ain't working. I'm going to have to sleep so long as I can. So I went to bed early and I did. And then I woke up really early because I'm not used to going to bed at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
So then I'm tired the next day, but then last night I was I was determined to sleep in today. So I did. So now I feel okay, but that was the cornerstone of my week though, was just my sleep was just weird and it really messed me up. And I even had a one-on-one with a VP this week, and he was like, "What's going on, man? You seem all doom and gloom." I'm like, "Bro, ain't nothing to do with that. I'm just done. I'm
cooked."
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a weird week. It's been a struggle. I just have felt disjointed all week long. I've been like something's off and I can't really figure it out right, but I'm just trying to just keep swimming until I figure out what's going on. Not that there's anything major wrong, but I think a lot of it too is through a lot of our episodes, I've plotted out some things to work on for myself, and I've really bared down on working on those things this week. And that's part of it too, is when I'm really determined to do something, I will pour all of my energy into it.
Agreed.
And, I've been thinking about all of our episodes and things that I need to work on and get better at, man. And I've made a specific focus to work on those things to try to get myself straightened out and feel good. And, because like all others, I struggle at times. Right. So,
well, speaking of that, my beard.
I know, dude. I wasn't going to say anything.
Well, it's not that I love my beard, and I've had it now. So the last time I shaved my face in any fashion was in 2010.
I just want you to know I saw a picture of you with no beard,
I know,
just barefaced on
weird,
Facebook,
right?
dude. I was like, what is that?
For many years, so when I shaved my head in my early 20s, I mean, I was not even 21 yet, and I shaved my head. I didn't having no facial hair, so I grew a goatee. So I had a goatee for 10 years or something. And then, like I said, I think it was 2010, I said, you know what? I'm just going to grow a full beard. And I have not touched it. It's never been trimmed. It's never, nothing at all.
You need
right?
to box that piece up, man.
Well, that's the thing. So I was thinking about a lot of things, how to step up some stuff. And, because it's I work from home, and I took the step a while back to dress up better when I'm on video. So I'll wear business attire in my chair up here just to fulfill the part, be on video, look a little more professional. And then I thought, my beard's got to be part of that. So here lately, that's what I've been thinking about. And it's trying to find a place that does and can do a really excellent job of taking care of a beard style trim type of thing. So the problem with that is that a barber is where you want to go, except you don't really know if those barbers are beard people. Their beard is different than a haircut, and I think it's a special kind of thing, right? So I don't know, because I haven't been to a barber in God knows how long. And I don't know if any modern day barbers do both equally well, or some do. I'm sure it's kind of there's people known for that or not. So it's trying to find that around here. That's been complicated and a little time consuming.
I know there's a place close to us, but I don't know the name of it. I haven't been clean shaven completely, I think, since I was 22 years old. Just started dating my wife, decided to, trim up a little bit, and actually didn't mean to, just cut a little too deep and was like, yep, I'm screwed now.
Done.
So I shaved it clean, and it's never been shaved completely since.
It's like, my beard has been a statement for so long, right? And I do, like, it's not like I don't comb it or make sure it's got, not all knotted up or I've used various different beard products to see if they did anything whatsoever. So it's just nothing has really been like, And then and my beard's just weird because it's not like it's not like as full as some of these other guys like you see on the internet.
Like the dense ones that looks like they have a beard on steroids.
Yeah, it's like it might as well be like just be like solid iron ore on their face that they just like chisel away to get this like perfect looking thing. So I know I don't have that kind of thing, but I'm like, well, surely I can get it trimmed up and looking pretty good. So I'm going to try to find that. The other thing is one of the best places that I saw and I did some research on was this place over in Louisville, but they don't do appointments. Like you have to like go to their website in the morning and get in their queue, and then you just when your turn's up, that's when you go in.
Yeah.
Well, I can't do that. There's no way. I mean, I got a regular job that I'm too busy.
Dude, there's got to be mom and pop joints around.
Well, there are. I'm just saying the one place I found that was like, they showed like a picture and had some descriptions of their beard trims and stuff. I was like, okay, cool. That's it. But I wouldn't be able to do it because I can't make that kind of commitment.
You know what shocks me?
What's that?
As industrious a man as you are, that you haven't figured out a way to do this on your own yet.
Man, it's not that I have. Okay, I don't want. Okay, I haven't. I tell you what, I don't want to screw it up. That's really what it is.
I'll be honest with you. Ever since I started using like a beard balm and a beard brush, mine has looked better. Like, I literally was like a Ted Kaczynski impersonator for a while. Like, it was ridiculous.
Well,
man.
I have like a I don't know what it is, a buffalo horn like comb that I use to like after I shower and stuff to really make sure it's all good. And then I have like another beard brush I use specific for that on sometimes. I've bought like a whole bunch of these other specialized things that I didn't really like. I've used all kinds of these different beard balms and oils and stuff. And the one that the one I've liked the most is buddy of ours made for me out of he made it.
So you got some straight homemade beard balm.
I got some straight homemade beard balm. That is the best stuff I've ever used.
That is some hardcore loving of the beard.
I know,
that somebody sits down and figures out how to formulate their own. It's some hardcore beard loving.
And so Julie loves it, dude, because it's like got like mint and like a chocolate smell to it. So it's like I walk around with a freaking, mint cookie on my face.
Dude.
So, I've started to use that more.
I had to go to unscented beard balm because my wife would smell me and be like, get away. She'd be like, you stink. Yeah. I'd be like, but it's sandalwood. And she's like, it doesn't smell like sandalwood. She goes, it smells like you got greasy oil on your face. So I went to a completely scentless. I don't use a scentless beard oil, right? Because I wash that out, right? Because you put the beard oil in, you leave it in for a while, then you wash it out. You get a nice tea tree. I'll tell you something else that's helped soften up my beard and shape it is I use a tea tree shampoo.
But you have like it's like just a scraggly looking little bitty ass beard on you.
Thanks, man. Thanks for making me feel good about my beard.
It's just like beep beep. It's all right, baby beard.
So for everybody was watching, Reggie just took a giant crapola on my beard. Telling you what, man. No respect. I know what you're talking about, Rodney.
You gotta up your beard game, man.
Hey, you gotta realize I didn't even get into the beard game till like a year and a half ago.
I know, man.
I was in the goatee game, and I got a solid goatee if I let it grow.
Well, okay. Clicks aside,
yeah.
Here's what I do think. If like you have the facial hair to do it, you should grow a beard out. And I mean, look, I realize people are with like they have like their wives or whatever, and they're like their wives would never want that. But like there is something about a beard that just that separates and like adds a maturity and kind of designation to yourself. Because I'll say this, like there's one thing you can look at a dude with a big beard, like he obviously can commit to something.
Yeah,
for a while,
for legit skis, right?
You know.
So what you're saying is I'm non-committal.
No,
what's up, bro?
No,
what's up?
But but I'm just saying, there's a beard does say something about you, and like, and that's what I mean too. I don't want it to. I've let it go so long since I really didn't. I'm just getting to that point in my life where like I'm done being like I really need to be more. I need to look more wise, and I need to be more presentable to a wider audience.
You are the white Gandalf, dude. Come on.
Well, no, but like just beards going crazy. Like, if I can make it look better, then I should, right?
Probably so.
It's
like, that's why I don't let it get all down my neck or get all up high on my cheeks, just because I like it. I've actually grown it long, but it takes forever to grow my beard long.
It does. It takes years, dude.
And it's very much a lot to deal with, like a lot, right? Like I got it out to about an inch or inch and a half one time, and it looked great because I was able to sculpt it and use the beard gel to kind of control the sides, and everything was tight, and it wasn't all these crazy flying hairs. But dude, it's 25 minutes in the morning with my beard.
Well, I don't have to do all that nonsense.
Well, because I don't have fine beard hair. Mine's coarse. Mine's like an armadillo's back, dude. It's ridiculous.
I don't know what mine is, to be honest.
Yours isn't coarse. You've got that nice long, like that. You've got the weight where it'll pull the beard down, right? But I don't have that weight.
It took so long, though, dude.
Oh, no doubt. Because it wasn't what, a third that length when we first met.
I don't know. It's hard to say.
You didn't have it.
No,
you had one, but you didn't have that one.
No,
right?
I mean, it took a very, very, that's what I'm saying. I didn't touch it on purpose because I wanted to get to a certain length and like would get to somewhere. And I had to, you constantly like comb it and brush it in order to like make it shape where sort of what you want. My problem is just basically I have too many frays going on. It's like there's no defined edges around it. And I don't even know if you can with mine because this, like I said, it's not like those.
Oh, dude, you should see some of the brilliant stuff I see some of these guys do. You can for sure.
I know, but like.
And there's somebody somewhere close to us that can do that.
Probably. But I envy those Middle Eastern dudes who has that, like, it's like this black, just almost looks like it's a solid material,
like high density.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm
it's like slightly curly, but it still lays down to make that
and then
dense.
what they'll do, and they got hair too still, so they can like style it here and make it shade and all freaking and have this like defined up here, like looks like somebody carved them out of marble. I'm like, you bastard.
You want that, don't you?
Well, I would, but
I bet you can. I bet you can.
I don't know, bro. We're gonna see. That's why I'm saying where I'm going. I need to find someone I really would like trust.
Now I'm gonna help you look, right?
Because this is the other thing. It was so long for me to get my beard to the point where I was like, okay, cool. That I don't want to get to the point where I'm like, I gotta grow this thing out for another like 4 years before.
Do you do any kind of beard enhancement, like growth stuff, some serum or something on there? See, I tried that and it didn't do a dang thing.
No, I think at one point I did, and it was like, no,
it didn't scratch the surface. My beard didn't grow any faster, any denser. No. I was like, and I combed this stuff in for like 3 months.
No, there's no magic, dude. I mean, like, there's stuff that'll like give it more nutrients to where it can do as much as it can do.
Yeah.
But there's nothing out there that's going to be like, oh, poof, here's your beard. No.
Unless you like just go buy a fake one and tape it on your face. And then
they do, dude. They have beard transplants.
They do.
Are you kidding me?
Well, dude, I was watching this one guy because after you and I talked about this the last time. Like, this guy had a chalk line, and he would draw chalk lines on dudes' faces and cut in to trim their beard. The way he was doing it, I was like, when he was done, it was so perfect. And the dude that had the beard was like this Viking red beard. And dude just was in there, and he was taking this thing and drawing lines in the longer part of the beard and then trimming there and then boxing. By the time he was done, this was the most, dude, NASA scientists probably would have struggled figuring that out. And this guy literally taught himself, and it said he was self-taught. like he started doing this as a hobby, and now that's what he does as a profession.
Well, see, but like if you had a beard that's like one of those that grows back really quick and like it's really full, if you screw it up, it's no big deal. It'll grow back in like no time. Well, for me though, if I screw it up, it takes a long time to grow back, especially all this like on the sides. This stuff took forever to
Dude, I'll
out.
tell you who I'm jealous of.
Woo!
I'm jealous of the dudes that got so much beard that if they don't trim their neck and they don't trim their cheeks, they look like a werewolf.
Oh yeah,
that's
like,
the dudes that drive me crazy because I don't look like that.
It's
I look like a literal homeless like idiot when I get out of control.
It just reminds. It's like you think they're wearing clothes with.
Yeah, you think it's part of their shirt, but it's not. It's just this drape of hair from under the chin all the way down to the chest. That's some hammer time right there.
Oh man,
take care of that, bro.
I know, man. I mean,
wouldn't you be sweaty?
I don't know. You kind of. I mean,
just saying, right? You'd be sweaty. That's some sweaty mess. Summertime, 95 degrees and humid. I'd be miserable.
I know, dude. That's pretty rough. That's pretty rough.
Anyway, now that we have probably ruined beards for everybody, and that's okay. What are we going to talk about today, Reg?
Well, before we do that,
we need to hear from our sponsor.
Okay. Are you a small business or solo entrepreneur looking for more of a presence online? Technology is ever changing, and with more and more people spending most of their time on screens, it's important to have your brand out and about, getting the most exposure possible. Worried about not having a big budget for website design or social media?
At Edwards Managed Technology Computer Consulting, we cater to every business or solo entrepreneur's individual needs to come up with a plan that works for your product and your wallet. Interested in learning about how we can manage your online presence so that you can spend your time doing what you love to do instead? Visit www.emtcc.net to make an appointment or give us a call at 1-888-551-2770. Mention R&B Talks for 10% off your appointment. Remote and on-site options available.
So, Brian, the topic of today is
spiritual gifts.
Now, when you say spiritual gifts, does that mean I get like a ghost wrapped in a some gift paper and a bow on it?
No, let me describe what I mean. Spiritual gifts are gifts given to every person who is saved, according to the Bible.
Every person?
The ability, everybody gets one spiritual gift.
One? We can't have more?
We could, I guess, if you're really practiced at it. But you get at least one, right? Like, it depends on who you talk to, too. One of the things that I found out about researching this is, everything else that we've researched has been pretty much a bottomless well of information. This one, it's not even bottomless. It's just forever flowing. Like the spiritual gift conversation, it changes from denomination to country to tradition. There are so many just variations of spiritual gifts that I have found that I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, so I went with just my list. And as I read, everybody gets at least one, right? Some people may have multiple. I actually know several people who are great at like administration, pastorship, all those things together. So I'm sure we can have multiple gifts. So
there is a difference between a spiritual gift though and like a talent. We got to distinguish that.
That is for sure.
That's a really good defining thing, right? So you can be talented at something, but that doesn't mean that's your spiritual gift. In other words,
well, what a talent does is it may help you find a stage to use your spiritual gift.
Well, there you go.
But talent's like, if you're a great basketball player, that's not a spiritual gift. That might be you are gifted by God with that talent. I mean, you got to look at some of these guys that are great players.
Here's an example. If you were like an NBA star, and you use that fame to be an evangelist,
absolutely.
There you go.
That's using your talent to put as a stage for your spiritual.
Exactly.
Gift.
Like there's that kind of thing, or whatever. But like, I think that a lot of people get stuck where they're just like, I don't know what mine is, and I can really crochet really well. Well, okay, cool. That might be a talent of yours, but like,
well, if you crochet quilts for homeless people, you might be able to go out and tell them about God and use that as a spiritual gift of evangelism, right?
But think of, the root of the spiritual gifts are for the edification, encouragement for the body of the church.
Agreed.
So
Yes.
so it's not, you got to think about it. It's not just like a task or something you create or something you do. It's really the purpose is aligned with the body.
Yes.
Encouragement, building it up,
For sure.
that kind of thing. So if you find yourself doing something and it's not doing those things, that's not a spirit. That's not your, that is not what you're doing. You're not exercising your spiritual
Yes.
gift.
That is, I agreed. I agree that. So, all right, Reggie, pick one. Give me a spiritual gift. Let's talk about it.
Okay. Well, let's talk. Let's briefly speak about. I think one of my. Okay, first off, let me just say, I actually don't know what mine is.
I do.
Everybody else has their opinions, and I've heard all kinds of them, right? But I don't know what it is.
Only mine counts, Reggie.
Okay. What is mine, Brian?
I believe with all of my heart, Reggie, that your spiritual gift is evangelism because you've been given several things, talents that hand to that. First of all, you're extraordinarily willing to educate yourself on the subject. Number one. Number two, you don't speak with a lot of garbage laced in between it, right? Like you're getting to the point and you're really good at explaining it in a way. Actually, you're better at this. You've been in a conversation with someone who's got a higher intellectual level than you, right?
Yep.
A lot of those people cannot understand or see when you're lost in the conversation and when they need to kind of reverse tactics. You are capable of doing that. If you see me floundering in a conversation, not because of ignorance, but because I've just not gone where you've gone with it, you're very good at bringing it back to me to make it relatable. Where a lot of people, they get way out there in the deep swamp and you're on a fan boat and I'm on a palm leaf.
You got you're sitting there with your rowboat
with a stick. And I'm sticking a palm leaf, just trying to make sure I don't drown. They don't know to come back, right? But you know very well where you're at in a conversation and how to bring it back to circle.
What's funny about that is in my professional career, it's like the biggest thing that's probably made me more successful in certain situations. Because I have to get in front of boards of directors sometimes. Like, well, that's rare, really rare, but CEOs or whatever the case may be, or something where they have this like high opinion of themselves and they think they're the smartest people in the world. And, and I know when to coddle that and when not, and when to shut it down.
Yeah.
That's a really good example, but I'd say that I just don't know about evangelism. I don't see people flocking to Christ because of things I'm saying or doing. And that could be just because I don't see it,
I think I know mine. I have two. I think I know mine. The first one for me is gift of giving. I'll give away everything I have if I think it's in the right way, right? Like if it's for the glory of God, I don't care. And I would say probably weirdly, man, I have a very wickedly sharp gift of discernment, like understanding and knowing when I'm in a situation and understanding and knowing, on the subtext and sub-level of it, how to react without exacerbating the situation. Especially with people who are combative. I don't tend to be, despite my earlier years in life and all the things that I've gotten myself into, I don't really do a combative side right now because I'm very quick to realize and understand situations and how they develop. I think those are my spiritual gifts. I was kind of thinking about this the other night, giving for sure, just because, man, I'll give time, I'll give whatever, doesn't matter, right? I mean, it's, and especially for people who are truly in need, right? Like they truly need something. But the discernment thing, I just bring that up because my wife has told me before that I have a pretty good radar for what's going on, right?
See, that's what I would say is my most, in a different way though than what you say. I can almost always read between the lines.
Yeah. Which is part of it.
Yeah. I mean, there's really not, I don't really have to question that very often. Like if I meet somebody or if we're in a situation, it's usually not a question. I usually just know that's good, that's bad.
Yeah.
That's, it could be even to the point where it's like, no, that's evil. That is not.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at that. Now, here's the one thing I want to say though. I've been in so many situations where it was false.
Yeah.
It's tainted my view of some of the gifts. So let's go back to what we're talking. Let's go back to let's say what we think are the spiritual gifts, because let's lay these out a little bit.
All right. Well, I'll go and then you go.
Okay.
The gift of administration. That comes from Acts 27:11, Revelation 18:17. But the gift of administration.
Also, 1 Corinthians 12:28.
Yes.
Contributing to the needs of others. That's in Romans 12:8.
Mm-hmm. The gifts of apostleship.
Yep.
That's the spiritual gift of apostleship is sometimes confused with the office of apostle. The office of apostle was held by a limited number of men chosen by Jesus, including the 12 disciples.
Encouragement. Romans 12:8.
Evangelism. Matthew 28:18 through 20. Ephesians 4:11 through 12. Acts 21:8 and Timothy 4:5.
Got you. Faith. 1 Corinthians 12:9.
Okay. Exhortation. Titus 2:11 through 15. Timothy chapter 4 verse 2. Titus verse 1 through 9.
Let's see. I have one, helping others. 1 Corinthians 12:28 again.
Okay.
Now, some of these. Okay, I'll get to that in a minute. I'll keep going.
Okay. We did faith, right?
Yes.
Okay. The gift of healing. 1 Corinthians 12:9. 1 Corinthians 12:7 through 10. That's one you really want to read on. If you're going to get into trying to discern that as a gift, you really want to get into some study with that. Also, Matthew 4:23, 24, 8 and 16, 9 and 35, and then Mark chapter 1, verse 34.
Hospitality. Okay. That's 1 Peter 4:9.
The gift of interpretation. That is 1 Corinthians 12:10, 30, 14, 1 through 28.
We have shepherding as an elder. That's really even found in Ephesians 4:11.
Okay. The gift of knowledge.
Okay.
Let's see here. 1 Corinthians 12:8, 1 Corinthians 14:7, Romans 15:14, and Corinthians 2:14.
Got you. Teaching. Romans 12:7.
The gift of mercy. Matthew 18:33, Ephesians 2:4 through 6, and Jude 22:23, and James 3:17.
You said discernment already. That was my last one here on a couple of lists I have.
Yeah.
Distinguishing spirits was kind of another way they put that as that 1 Corinthians 12:10.
What about the gift of prophecy? Did we go over that?
No, we didn't say that. That is in there. Yes.
Corinthians 14:1. 1 Corinthians 14:29 through 33, 1 Thessalonians 5:20 and 21, and John 4:1 through 3.
We didn't say tongues.
That's true. We didn't say tongues. What's tongues? That's 1 Corinthians 14:2. Let's see, 1 Corinthians 14:2. I want to give all the resources out so they'll know to get them. In case you guys haven't noticed, the Bible is my main resource for this one.
That's okay. That's what it's supposed to be.
Let's see. Also, 1 Corinthians 12:30, 1 Corinthians 14:2, 1 Corinthians 14:27 through 28, 33, 39, and 40. And that's about it for that. Did we say wisdom?
No. Words of wisdom was another one.
James 3:17, 1 Corinthians 1:18, Colossians 1:9 through 10. Those are all places to find. That's about where I'm at, man.
So we have, okay. And there's a bunch of, I'll just say this. I'll put my things at the bottom because there's a a bunch of different, I basically watched sermons and like some specific podcasts and whatever about the stuff. So there's like a blended, I have like a whole blended thing. Cool. So whatever I got these from will be down in the bottom. There are different outlooks on the spiritual gifts.
Okay.
So are you familiar with cessationism?
Cessationism, isn't that the part that believes that, or the belief that is certain miracles and healing were all not necessary, correct?
Yes.
After a certain point, the Bible was complete, not necessary.
Yeah,
no existent anymore.
There's different variants of it, but yeah, it's like there's either all or some of the of gifts are no longer around anymore. So this is probably the bulk of the scholarship is in cessationism. I would say that's really where you find most of your people who are writing books and stuff are that I guess our respected scholarship falls into that line.
So falls into the line of those gifts are no longer existent for us. I'm gonna say I don't agree with that.
It's okay. So the other view is continuism.
Okay. Which is the opposite.
Right. Nothing is, well, again, there's variants of that, but the gifts are still viable and still around today. Some of them or whatever, all of them, but again, whatever that is, but there's nothing that ceased after the culmination of the canon or after the first century of Christendom kind of thing. So those are the two. Now, this is probably one of, I wouldn't say but like it's a really debated topic amongst Christian, scholarship or churches or denominations or whatever. Because you do have specific denominations that I would say differentiate themselves by
spiritual gifts,
the way they look at spiritual gifts.
Well, here's my question, right? Like, and here's where I kind of fall just in my immediate thought with you giving me those things, right? Cessationism and continuism. I find the reason I don't agree is I find it difficult in knowing some of the people that I know, you, some other close counsel of mine, that obviously are gifted spiritually with abilities, right? Within their Christian heart, they've been gifted, right? I think your evangelism all day long. Discernment, yes, probably. But I know, a friend of mine who's just utterly knowledge, man. Like the guys, like when I say, I mean, even down to the very symbolism of what it means, man, he's just very gifted with that. And then, I know someone who is just gifted with, far beyond me, makes me look bad in just giving, right? So it's hard for me to look at those people and be like, yeah, cessationism is right, because God has obviously touched their lives in a way where they have a real drive through that real, what I call it, God drive, that God drive to move into those areas and work. So
most of cessationism or cessationists fall in line of like, it's not all the spiritual gifts.
Okay.
Most of them fall in line of like the signs and wonders type of things are not for today.
Okay.
And so this was a tough one, man. I mean, cause, and I'll just say, I don't know. I don't know if I fall in line with that, of this or not, but, cause I think almost everybody that is who I'm reading about, and we're talking like the John MacArthur's, R.C. Sproul, the Wayne Grudem, the all these big, Alistair Begg, there's a lot of these really well-known Christian, pastors and scholars will say they believe in miracles. Mm-hmm. They still do, but they don't necessarily go with the signs and wonders type of thing. So what I got from, this was brilliant. It was from the Southern Seminary. And I forget what his name was, but I'll link it in the bottom. He was saying that basically like it's not that there's not miracles that happen today. You just don't have anybody gifted with being a healer or with being a miracle worker. it's not a regular everyday occurrence for them to do that.
Yes.
Okay. Now he's saying it's completely legit to go and pray for someone and like have a healing occur, or, some kind of miracle to happen from that kind of, from an interaction or whatever. But to say that someone's actually exercising their spiritual gift of healing or miracles, for example, that's like not really for today.
Well, let me ask a question. Let's talk about healing. In my opinion, and I will use my grandmother as an example, was she able to heal people like, Benny Hinn, slap them in the head? No. But she knew how to care for people.
Okay.
And help them recover. Do you think that could be interpreted as a gift for healing, helping to heal? She was amazing, dude. I had pneumonia one time. It was the most miserable. It set in 3 days. I was sick. I missed almost a month of school. And she literally every day, like, not check your temperature, feed you some soup, came in, changed the sheets on the bed where I was sweating, sat with me and read. Like, I think that takes a particular type of temperament. Is that something that you would interpret?
No. I think healing really, if you look at the way healing is talked about in the New Testament, especially, is when you look, it was a immediate healing of whatever ails them.
Okay.
Right. When Jesus healed the blind man, he could see.
Healed, yeah.
It wasn't like it was, he's going to take care of him and all this stuff and nurse him back to health. No, it was done.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah.
So I think the biblical example of healing is really like a miraculous healing. Now, I think that's all. I mean, maybe you could qualify that and say it's, I don't know if you'd say hospitality or helping. I don't know. There's something. I mean, obviously some people are gifted in that kind of thing, but I don't know. I don't know if that lines up with a spiritual gift or not. Maybe not.
Well, but that also begs the question: are these all the spiritual gifts?
No. In that you certain readings, certain interpretations, you could go all the way up to like 20 spiritual gifts that are listed in the actual New Testament. So I'd say that. And also too, there's nowhere that says the specific ones that are called out are the only ones that are available. They're just calling these specific ones. There's nothing else that says this is the only gifts available. It doesn't say it. There's nowhere in the Bible that says that. So it's quite possible that this is not the complete exhaustive list, even if you go all the way to the 20 or so listed in different translations or interpretations. That doesn't have to be all there is.
Okay.
For sure. And from what I've seen, this is just because I really think these spread out far more than just these specific things.
Okay.
Because I think our world and how we live and what troubles we have with each other and with recognizing, and following our faith and everything else. I think there's so many other things that you could say some people are gifted to do so,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I would say, it's not like this is the exhaustive list. No, not at all. I think there's a lot more than that for sure.
Well, to go back to what you were saying a little bit something earlier, the non-recognition of miracles, right? Like as we saw them then, right? Why do you think that those miracles aren't occurring, or do you think they're occurring and we're not really capable of comprehending? Because I have a theory, and I've talked to you about this before. I think the reason we don't see the bigger miracle is we become jaded to the smaller ones. And let me explain what that means.
Go ahead.
Our kids, to me, that's a miracle. The fact that the earth spins on an invisible axis and doesn't go careening into the sun. I kind of see that as a miracle, right? Like that's not, you can give me, you want to know why they call it the Big Bang Theory, Reggie? Because it's a theory, but I don't believe in theories. Like God holds this big universe together.
Okay.
And is like over there doing laundry, and then is like picking up milk and mowing the yard and, raking leaves all at the same time.
Okay. This goes a little far off, but
I just
let me just say this.
All right.
Okay to that.
Sweet.
God created this universe with a system.
Yes. Agreed.
And the more we learn about science, the more we figure out, okay, things work the way they do for this purpose, this person. They like all add, like there's a lot of things that are just that we discover things that just make another piece of the puzzle.
Just makes sense.
The way God put everything together.
Got it.
So, and this goes, that resembles a lot about like what, and I don't mean this in a derogatory manner, but like when you had like people in the 17th century or whatever would see something and it would be like scientifically explainable now, they'd be like, oh, it's a magic or whatever. And a lot of that stuff, has come down to, no, it's science did this, right? And I think God did that on purpose. He gave us a way to like understand some of his creation. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about like the planets, there's all kinds of specific reasons that holds it there with all the laws of physics and, everything else. What I would say constitute, like if I say miracles today, and this goes to your actual question, there's so many things that happen that aren't explainable. Even today, like with all the science we have, everything else we have, there's all kinds of things that happen that we have no explanation for. Like, and you do have verified like eyewitness reports of people being healed in other places and whatever. And it's like, no matter what, doctors can't explain it. So I think if you put all those testimonies that have been investigated and improved and stuff, I think we'd all be shocked at how much is really going on that we don't see and we don't recognize.
Do you think that's purposeful?
Of course,
the devil's purposeful plan to cover that up so that we don't see it?
Yeah, of course I do.
Okay, all right.
I think we get lost in our own. I mean, there's a reason why the knowledge of good and evil is knowledge. I think knowledge can, we get so caught up in how smart we are. We kind of throw off that and just say, well, we'll figure this out later when we get smarter. Okay. It's not really a miracle, kind of thing. Yeah. But there are, we'll
do a study.
It would be exhaustive and I wouldn't want to, wouldn't want to dare to touch that. But yeah, so that's what I would say is like, there are a lot, I think there's more going on today. Now on that subject.
Okay.
Here's what I think about a lot. It's his creation. And I think that we have inspiration for things. Like, if you talk about like music, for example, which is something I've obviously done, there's like, where does that inspiration for a new song or something come from? Where is that really coming from?
Well, I would think, I think it's different for different people. Some musicians write songs as a way to as almost like a therapy. I've been through this, so I'm going to write a song and it's going to be very, cathartic and I'm going to get this out.
Well, I know, but what I'm saying is like the way the music comes together. Like if you have like an idea of like a melody or something else, it's this inspiration isn't.
Now that I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. It comes up, but I'm saying God, that comes from God's creation. Like God is the one who inspires people.
Well, you said last week the earth resonates at a frequency. So
yeah,
I think that might have something to do with it. If that, being the case,
where I'm going with this is like here's a really good example. The gentleman who invented the MRI, right? That was a new idea. No one's ever done that before. Well, where did he get that from? He was a Christian. Yeah. So I think it's more plausible that God has inspired and put these ideas that have helped us be more able to heal, more able to do things, and all these stuff. I think that all comes from God. And I point all the way back to when it's, God does everything for the good, and he doesn't, he's present and he's here. So, and he's looking at everything at all times. So to me, I think inspiration for a lot of things comes from God, and like our technology and stuff comes from God. I think it all originates from an inspiration, and invention comes from that point. So in today, like where we have, you go, if you break a bone or something, they take care of it or whatever. Well, I mean, that's the way they do it now is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
If you have really good example, stroke.
Okay. Somebody
has a stroke. I mean, we have the technology now. If you catch that soon enough, they'll treat it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's amazing. I mean, you talk about a death sentence that wasn't that long ago. If you had a stroke,
heart attack.
Yeah. Well, heart attack, same thing, heart attack. Like as long as they get to it soon enough, they can, not everything, obviously, but I'm saying that there's a lot of technology that's been developed and had to come from somewhere, had to be inspired from somewhere. So all healing comes from God. I guess that's where I'm going. Like it just does. And whether or not it's from technology or it's just from somebody working through their hands or whatever. Yeah. I mean, that's just where I'm at. Mm-hmm. So to me, when I think about miracles, I think there's just so many miracles that happen that we just don't, and maybe you don't call it like miraculous, that it's not like this biblical level miracle or whatever, but that doesn't negate God's presence in the matter and working, right?
How many breakthroughs has the medical industry had that they were nowhere, and all of a sudden inspiration strikes, and they check one thing or they change a small thing, and all of a sudden, well, now we have something that we didn't have all this time. I don't think, and I know there are some vastly intelligent people in this world, more depth of intelligence than I'll ever have, but I don't think that's something that we as people can manifest. That kind of epiphany that goes on. I think even when people don't believe in God, I believe it's in his plan to only allow doors to open when they're supposed to, right? So he'll let you get to a certain point, but then he becomes the gatekeeper, right? You've got to be in the place to receive whatever is coming. So then he unlocks that door. Okay, we're ready for this now, right? So that's why I think it's more of a divine intervention, I would say. Well,
it just goes to this. I don't think there's no such thing as luck, and there's no such thing as coincidences.
That's right.
Okay. So and God doesn't only use people that believe in him for things he wants to do.
Yeah. He's moving us all around.
That's never been the case. I mean, there's yeah, I mean, as far as these things go, miracles happen today, and they happen more than what we think they do. I'll say that I think the reason why, and I'll agree with the Southern Seminary. Like the reason why you had these. Oh no, actually it was John MacArthur who was talking about this. Like you had all these miracles that are clustered around Christ for one.
Yeah,
those miracles weren't, and he actually, Christ himself said this. Like they're not for just to heal someone and make their day better or whatever, or to save their life or whatever. It's to point to the divinity of Christ. And he said this multiple times, like to his apostles and stuff. When he was crucified and got resurrected and stuff, and his apostles then went forth, that again, their miracles that they were performing were pointing back to the divinity of Christ, that he was actually who he said he was.
Yeah.
And this comes up to the main point of cessationism, like when you have, after like the first century of, you really saw the miracle stuff fall off, and and why was that? And I think really it's because the canon and his word and all the stuff that needed to point back to Christ is complete. So saying that, like, and I do think like Scripture's complete, it's sufficient, and there's nothing else needed, right?
Yeah.
So if it's complete, it's sufficient. There's like nothing else that's required there to like point back to the gospel for salvation or for the divinity of Christ or everything else. Do you need to have all these? Do you need to be like having all these miraculous signs when you have the full-fledged canon that does what those miracles are going to do anyway?
The way I would answer that question would be, if it's in his plan, yes. If it's not, no. So
right.
It's going to be, to me, it's going to be, for something truly miraculous to happen, it has to be for the benefit of the kingdom.
Yes. So, edification and encouragement
exactly
of the body.
So are there people out there just whipping out miracles and throwing them on the table? No, I don't think that's the case at all. I think to believe that is actually disingenuous to what happened in the Bible, right? Because, I mean, Christ healed some folks. Christ saved some folks. But, Lazarus, I mean, let's just talk about all of them if you want to, but he did. But in the span of time that he was in, he wasn't like 12 miracles a day, dude, right? Like he was, okay, it fits this situation for me to use the power that given to me by my Father. But, if
we don't have people lined up, like sitting out somewhere with a stand and people are coming up and they're just getting,
no. Well, we might have somebody out there at the stand,
we do.
But they ain't performing miracles.
Now, I will say this, it like, especially in like John, oh man, where was it? When he heals the blind man, they and like it tells like how they were skeptical, they verified all the stuff. It does not say those things in a negative light.
Yeah. No.
It's telling us it's okay to be skeptical. It's okay to investigate something and make sure it's legit, because they knew that these type of things people were, if you don't verify or investigate or whatever those things, you're not going to get to the bottom of it and say it's the true thing, because there's going to be a lot of false things go on for these people, right?
Yeah.
So, and this is where this is what I'm saying. I've been around a lot of, and I've played at or been to a lot of events where there's this healer coming into town or whatever. And it's just, I get really irritated, just enormously irritated, because I've never seen one healing done legit at some place like that. And I've been to a ton of these things. That's my problem with that kind of stuff. Now, and let me ask you, so I'll ask you this, Brian. Okay. Have you witnessed any kind of like a miraculous healing event or a miracle? Like you personally?
Thinking. No, not what I would say that I have witnessed God's intervention at times, but have I witnessed according to Hoyle miracle? Like somebody being raised from the dead, or a blind person now seeing because they petitioned Christ? Not personally, no.
Not that that's a definitive, but I mean, I have heard missionaries though that I've known very well, that I respected, that I know are truthful, who have witnessed a healing in other places.
I'm sure there are.
Right. So this is all I'm getting at. Miracles happen, but do you have those signs and wonders gifts anymore? No. That's kind of where I'm at. The tongues one, man, drives me nuts. Because it's specifically, Paul is very specific. There's no translation that messes it up, says you don't do that in public unless there's an interpretation. Yet you'll go to, I don't know how many of these things, and all of a sudden there's all this gibberish going on. There's no interpretation. There's nothing. When I dug into that, there's actually a psychological thing that can happen, because Christianity is not the only one that does.
Yes, that's true.
there, and what they found was when they did some research, like there was a couple of tribes in like Africa that would do the same thing, where it was like this state of being that, so it's brought about by an emotional thing. And I don't, I don't remember the technical psychological stuff that went into that or even have that article anymore. But I guess for me, I have yet to see an interpretation of that in public where I was like, yep, that's legit.
I have yet to be standing in front of someone, and this is not an attack by any means. Again, I would love for you to discuss this with us because I like discussion. I've never seen someone speaking in tongues where I've been able to interpret what they're saying.
Or somebody interpret it for you.
Yeah, or there's someone interpreting for them. I've not had any here's the problem with me, man. I need context, right? So if I've got context and you start speaking in tongues, I might understand, but there isn't any context, right? Mm-hmm. Like when you're in church and you're praying and you just burst out in tongues, there's no context. And I don't, if what you're doing is so miraculous and meant to heal or in some way impact me, aren't I going to understand exactly what you're doing? Because God's going to want me to be clear on what he's working in my life at the point of impact. I don't think, Christ or God are shying away at that point. I mean, if they're creating an according to Hoyle miracle to save you, you certainly need to be able to understand what that miracle is.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know. I'm not saying, okay, for one, I'm not saying that I am absolutely correct on this and that there's no, whatever. I'm not saying somebody is explicitly wrong for speaking in tongues necessarily. I am saying it's wrong to be in public and to spout off a bunch of gibberish without an interpretation. That is clear in the New Testament.
Okay.
Now, if you're sitting in your prayer closet and you're doing all kinds of gibberish stuff, okay. Yeah. I mean, that's not up to me. That's up to you and God to sort that out.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just view that as sensationalism or something else, or just caught up in the moment. I don't know, but I don't like it when I go somewhere and they're like, hey, let's just pray in tongues.
All right. So dude,
what?
I'll tell you a great story. You're going to like this. My wife used to be a Head Start teacher, and she had a friend. I won't say her name. Don't want to cause any problems.
Exactly.
But her parents were, I want to say, Pentecostal, charismatic, right?
Okay.
And they literally would tell their daughter that they were concerned that she was going to go to hell because she hadn't spoken tongues yet. And you talk about just, at first I thought it was just weird, but I was at a different place in my spiritual walk then, right? Wasn't as mature. But I think about that now, and what a terrifying, heartbreaking thing to say to your daughter. What a terrifying, heartbreaking thing to say, to look at your daughter and go, I'm afraid you're going to go to hell because you haven't spoken in tongues. And for that person to not understand or feel some level of guilt because they have not spoken out in a certain language, that's just very disturbing to me. To me, that's almost that. I want to say it, and I'm probably going to get some blowback on this. That's, to me, in my mind, that's almost abuse.
It's heresy.
Yeah.
There's nothing in the scripture that says if you do not do this, tongues or healing or miracles or prophesy, that you are not saved, you're not a Christian or whatever. There's not one ounce.
It's just heartbreaking.
No. That's completely nonsense and should be shunned hard.
Yeah. And that is not to take away from, who am I to say that God's not speaking through them in some way that they need to understand. But according to what is written in the Bible, there is interpretation that goes along with it.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, so in the 60s and 70s, the charismatic movement had another name. It was called the tongues movement, right?
Yeah.
So there was a really around this whole thing, right? It was defined as a speaking a language that's not one you've ever known. Mm-hmm. That's one way. The other was like a uniquely crafted or shaped linguistic expression, right? But must have interpretation in a public space. That still existed. Okay. Or that's still the case.
Yeah.
But there's this like, they call it a prayer language or whatever. And I struggle with that because I'm thinking, I've heard it explained to me like, well, they do that so the devil doesn't know what you're saying. Well, why does that even matter? Why does it matter if he knows? It's not like he could do anything about it. And then the other one was, it's the Holy Spirit is speaking a prayer for you directly to God in this other language, but that doesn't make any sense either. There doesn't need to be like, that's a very like humanistic way to look at that sort of thing. You're talking about a spiritual being, the God of all creation. There doesn't even need to be language involved at all. Like to like nail that down to say that those are the reasons for that. It just kind of doesn't logically add up for me at all. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And again, am I going to say like you're this heretical person for sitting in your prayer closet and you
start gibbering?
Yeah. I mean, no. Okay. If that's really how you want to communicate, okay, that's cool. I mean, again, it's public spaces, but, prophecy though. Okay. This is one that really bugs the crap out of me too.
Okay.
Wayne Grudem actually said, prophecy was speaking forth in merely human words what God has brought to mind. Okay.
Okay.
And this there's a lot of people who would associate that with like seeing the future, but it's also just speaking what God has, who God is and what God hasn't planned and what's he doing specifically. Right. So prophetic utterances and that kind of thing, but it's supposed to lift up and encourage the body of Christ. Now, how do you know if you have a false prophet?
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't say things that don't come true or whatever. And I struggle with that also too, because prophets in the Bible were specifically there because there wasn't the Bible. They were there to be that interpretation and that this telling of who God is and how he would, what his plan for creation was. That's what they were for. There were specifics. They didn't have a Bible to go, here, look at this. I think that when you talk about prophecy in today's time, I don't see that being relevant at all. Cause I think we have the canon that says everything, that all of it is prophetic. You don't need any more prophecy than what's there.
I was going to say, like, the Great Commission calls us to go and spread the word to others. There's prophecy, right? Like we're going out and we're talking to others about Christ and what Christ did and the miracles and all the things that he did. I mean, hopefully if you're watering a relationship with someone to try to help them get to a relationship with Christ, you're going to come to a point where you're going to be able to speak the word into their life. God's going to speak through you and say, hey, let me give you some scripture. Let me give you some examples, right? That's prophecy. But, one of these things that, prophet preaching, right? Not prophecy preaching is what it is. I think I would call it prophet preaching. Like, I'm going to preach something, because most people who are spreading false prophecy are doing it to benefit themselves in some way. Let's be honest. Nobody's running out there thinking up some kind of prophecy that wasn't in the Bible that they're putting out there that they don't feel like is going to give them an advantage at one point or another. So it's prophet preaching is what it is. It's not prophecy. Prophecy is God's word. The Bible is prophecy. The Bible is a miracle. It's a living word. It changes as we change. The meanings and the interpretations change for us, and we come closer and we grow closer. But the guy on the hill talking about God's going to smite everybody if they don't, drink this vial of holy juice. that's not prophecy. That's prophet preaching.
I have a real bone to pick with what people call prophets today.
Dual, for sure.
Okay. Personally, it's affected my dad profoundly over the years. He would go to these so-called prophets who were big names or whatever. He would always go. He would always get this prophecy, and he would just believe it. And it was like, this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. No, it never did. As a matter of fact, there was some real issues with prophetic crap that was spewed to my dad that he took and got himself into something, which I'm very still angry about today, that really messed up a good portion of his life. So you know what? I mean, if you want to talk about a guy who go out and protest against a prophet, I'm that dude. I'll hold up that damn sign. I'll say, this is a false prophet.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I'll be that dude. I'll be like that freaking Antifa shit going out to the prophet.
But I think you and I are the same page when it comes to, you know, dude, there's a difference between making yourself feel good and preaching the Lord's word. And you and I ran into occasions of that together through the past, right? Like, it's like you and I have agreed that's not somebody spreading the love of Christ. That's somebody spewing hate on everybody, right? And, you know, that is the biggest heartbreaker for me, is when I get out there and I start talking to people and I find people who have this disjointed view of God because they've been fed some garbage that's not real.
Yes.
They've not been fed something from the Bible. Or what's even worse, someone who's taken the Bible and carved it up. That's even worse, because there's nothing worse than someone who will, you know, jump out there and take one piece of the Bible and just a few words and try to use it as a wedge or a weapon. An example, and it's a very common example, is be not unevenly yoked.
Yes.
But that's not the whole verse. It says, be not unevenly yoked with unbelievers. It doesn't mean don't be racially not yoked. It don't mean background. It's such hot garbage. And it upsets me too, because it's divisive purposefully to say something like that. You know, so I get it, man. I agree.
Just like, look, here's the thing. I don't understand why people have to have like this like fantasy novel to be their religion. To be their faith. Like, you don't need freaking Gandalf to be this priest or something and like have doing all these things in order to make it real. That's just so shallow to me, man. That's what I know we've hammered on this a little bit, but I'll just say this. Investigate, be skeptical.
Yes.
Do some due diligence before you go, you know, accepting any kind of thing like this, like whether it's a healing or a prophecy or whatever. I mean, one of the most famous ones I can think of is Tim Clement. I mean, that dude had all kinds of, he was supposed to be a prophet, but he had all kinds of stuff that was false. I mean, why would you listen to a false prophet? That's what I don't understand. People just they're looking for answers, right? And they're looking for a certain solution for their problems. And they're like, well, he said this. And they like latch onto it because it's just like, they don't want to accept that, you know, sometimes you just got to do it yourself. Well, but I don't know, man. It just drives me freaking nuts.
Well, first of all, dude, if you're following a person, you know, I've had a few pretty profound things happen in the last few weeks, and I've heard some, and they're always pouring into this. Like, they're always relevant to what we're talking about, which freaks me out. But I was at a gathering, great people, and one of the guys in the gathering said, I will never follow a man again. And at first, when that hit me, I was like, oh man, you know, ministers. And then he clarified. He was like, man is not built to be followed. God is built to be followed, right? You follow God. There are men who preach God's word, and they're good men that preach God's word.
Okay.
But we're not meant to follow men. We're meant to follow God. And I realized that that's probably why myself personally, I've struggled in the last couple of years, because I don't and have not found any man, regardless of how high or low he is, that I would put the stock in to follow. But I will always, but in all things that I feel from my faith, I follow without question, which tells me it attaches to exactly what you're talking about. If you've done the due diligence, right? If you've read your Bible, if you've done research, if you look through it, not only is the Bible historically the most accurate you're ever going to run across, not only can I prove that all of these men existed, but when you look at the Bible, you read the Bible, it tells you to look away from man and look to God. Mm-hmm. So if you're in a church, right, and you're looking to the preacher to be your conduit, don't. Christ died so you would have a direct line to God, right? I don't need them. Now, there are men of wisdom that I listen to their sermons and I get a lot from them, and I do not want to make those men feel less than if they feel like this, because they are good men. But I don't follow men because men aren't built to be followed. God is to be followed. The Bible is to be followed. Even if you look at the apostles, you look at, everybody that played a role in the book of the Bible, none of them followed Christ. They followed the Father through Christ, right? Christ was a living representation of God. So they weren't necessarily following Jesus in the sense of, this is a man and I'm going to follow him. He was a messenger directly from God for our salvation. So they were connecting directly to God through him, right? So don't follow a man, follow God.
Well, okay. So there's a distinction though that needs to be clear.
Okay.
There is a purpose for leadership.
Yes.
There is a purpose for having shepherds.
There is, and which is one of the gifts.
Well, both of those
shepherding
and I mean, but that doesn't. Okay, so this goes to like the kind of Catholic way.
Yeah.
The way the Protestant, Presbyterian, whatever you want to call it, way the Reformation did was they said, it's not works, it's grace, it's faith. I don't have somebody that needs to be a conduit for me. I have a direct line, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Both of those things are legit. What the place for like the elder, the place for like a teacher, the place for a leader are definitely set there for a man to have.
Yeah.
And it's you are going to follow that guy, sort of. I mean, it's not like you're saying he's going to lead you into battle necessarily.
Well, I think what I mean to say is I follow men who follow God, right? Like who are praying for clarity, praying for, I trust the elders in my church, right? So I trust that they pray and they ask for God's intervention on their decision making, but I don't follow them in the sense of I believe that they're okay. So you're right. This goes back to the Catholic thing, right? And this is the biggest issue I have with the Catholic Church is if a man can take me to God, then Christ's death is null and void.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, there are people that God places in my life in leadership roles, but I don't follow who they are. I follow the message they bring through God. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean, that's the clarification though. I mean, you have people, there is a biblical way to be a leader, biblical way to be a shepherd, biblical way, to be a teacher.
Yeah.
But they're not saying they're supplanting anyone other than just saying, here's how you can do this.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying and I don't disagree with that, but, and there's really great, and again, if there's gifted, really great leaders, really great shepherds as elders, there's really great people who can teach. Man, I've heard some people that you like hear them talk about a passage and you're like, wow, the word, I've never heard that. It's like just hits you in the face. You're just like, wow, that's freaking, you're just captivated. I've heard people, evangelists who like show up somewhere, and it's like just flocks of people. Like, okay, here's a good Act Like Men conference that I went to it's been a lot longer now, but that was a long time ago up in Chicago. And I forgot I can't remember who it was now, but he just got up there and started speaking and you were like, this guy's legit. And he's like, he had an altar call and there was like just flood of guys, right? Must have been at least 500 of these dudes were going up there to be saved kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, I even looked at, I was there with Thurman's. I even looked at John and go, holy cow, man.
Yeah.
And I mean, but yeah, it was like, holy, that's an evangelist.
I would say what you witnessed, Reggie, is a miracle. For 500 men to come forward.
I'm just guessing here, right?
And dude, I'll say this, 100 men coming forward all in the same, off of God's word flowing through someone truthfully. You know, that to me is a miracle.
It is.
It's a miracle to me when one person gets up and the light has gone off, right? If you got 100 of them.
Oh, so it was nuts, dude.
Or 500 of them.
It was nuts. It was just nuts.
I mean, and the thing is look, there's so many gifts that we have. And I actually do believe that there are spiritual gifts that aren't on what we're talking about.
Oh yeah.
Like I believe that there are people that are just, that God has touched that gift in their life and it has given them the ability to do it at such a level that and have such a high impact.
Okay. Now hold on.
Okay.
A point I want to make. I don't know if you necessarily have one or multiple gifts and they're the same all the time. I don't know.
Do you think it's like the Bible? Like it changes as you change?
Well, not the
right?
Bible didn't change.
But it's living word, right? Like it could touch you different ways, right? But it's still the same. But I kind of sort of, my line of thinking is, does God see us at different points? And he's like, you know what?
Here's your revelation.
Here's your revelation.
Yeah.
Right?
It's the same words on the page. You're just actually interpreting it or seeing it differently from for some reason.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
But I don't know. I guess he blesses everybody with these spiritual gifts at one point or another when you're saved. And like, I just wonder, and I don't know, maybe it changes. Maybe you're not just stuck to being one thing here, one thing there. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know if that's clear. I guess that's a question I didn't get to dig into really too much this week, but
very much. Yes.
But okay. So let's just talk briefly about a perspective from a continuist perspective.
Okay. I would like that.
Guy, Joseph Prince. Okay. I actually pay attention to Joseph Prince because there's a lot of times he has like, he'll do like a passage through stuff or whatever. And it's like, he really has some good things, but he's also healing kind of person and all this kind of stuff. He's very charismatic. Okay. So we disagree on some of this stuff, but I did watch his. And okay. Now the other thing, okay, let me say this too. The other thing that really bothers me about Joseph Prince is most of the stuff of his is behind a paywall. Like it's like the stuff you'll find is like points to a DVD to buy on his website or a book he wrote or something. It's not really a lot out there for just free.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's that I don't really care for. Now I think his sermons, because he does, I forgot what church he was like at the biggest one in Singapore in the world or something he was preaching at, and maybe he still is. I don't know. But anyway, just get back to this. But he the one thing I was able to glean from some stuff he put out was he broke up the gifts, and he said there was 9, and he broke them up into 3s. He said there was to say something, to do something, to know something. Okay. So when he said to say something, he meant prophecy, tongues, and to interpret tongues. And he's really talking about being a prophet in explaining how prophecy is from God. It's telling people through God what God's words are for them. And I mean, things that's real, because he believes those things are today. Okay.
Okay.
Tongues. He absolutely says you should be praying in tongues. You should be speaking in tongues and all that kind of stuff. But he also believes in the gift to interpret those tongues. To know something, he broke that down into the words of wisdom, words of knowledge, and discerning of spirits. Mm-hmm. And he kind of said the word of wisdom was to kind of know about the future. And I was really thinking, and it was
so prophecy.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. And words of knowledge was like know about the things in the present. So like if you came up and said, you have, hey, I know you got this, and do this. But I think both of those are related to prophecy a little bit. And he discernment, he was also talking about how you can know if he actually mentioned knowing between an angel and a demonic presence, or like seeing an angel, if that was really an angel or not, and that kind of thing. And then to do something was faith, healing, and the working of miracles, right?
Yeah.
And I think faith is like, and I think he explained this one actually pretty well. Like faith is like no, you don't question or whether or not something is true or false. It's you just do because it's you have such, since your gift is faith, you have so much faith in it that you just do it. You don't question it.
Yeah.
You don't question it. Right. But this whole point of this was like, he talked about you must be covetous for these spiritual gifts. And that goes beyond just like wanting them. Coveting is like, a different level of that basically. And he was talking about how to activate these gifts. And it was like, you need to pray and like, just try to speak in tongues when you're praying. And I don't know, that's what he said. And let me tell you this though, if you were to look for signs and wonders or healing gifts and stuff like that, I was appalled by the number of like blatant, like televangelist type of nonsense when it came to that stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So this is another reason why I'm kind of where I'm at. Most of the time when you see somebody running around trying to be sensational like that, there's a $ attached to it.
Absolutely.
So that's a cautious thing for anybody who cares about this kind of stuff. It's like, be aware they are trying to take advantage of people.
Prophet preaching.
Yes.
That's right.
So, and even if you go to YouTube and you try to search for videos about this stuff, it's like video after video about, how do you get, it ties into the prosperity gospel.
If you just order my oil and you sprinkle it on your head for $89.95, you will be rich.
It's pretty much that, dude.
You believe me, because my hair looks like a helmet that I could take off and on. It's
Call
so tight.
this number now.
Yeah.
Donate this and you'll be healed.
Well, and I think the heartbreaking thing about that is I think it's so surface, because God tends to call things to the surface, right? Like, I mean, you take a lot of these current prosperity preachers who they're just so shallow, and it always seems that it's the prosperity preaching begins and then the fall happens. I've heard prosperity gospel preachers make claims like Christ is not the Son of God.
Or there's multiple ways to know God.
Yeah, no.
Like it's not just going through Jesus. Like there's all these other ways.
Or Jesus wasn't holy until after the birth. Well,
or the one that's like gets me is like the Muslim, the Jewish, and the Christian God are all the same.
No.
Now you can argue about the Jewish, but okay, but they still didn't see, they still don't recognize Jesus. So there's that. But
well, and you know why right? Because they were looking for the lion.
Sure they were.
And we got the lamb, right? So, yeah.
All right, Brian, spiritual gifts, man. I mean, we kind of ran through that. You got any final thoughts here, buddy?
What I would tell you to do is pray first, because if you don't recognize that you have a spiritual gift, I do believe that God gives us all at least one spiritual gift, something
everybody does
that is unique to us, right? So I would really encourage people to pray about your spiritual gift. And for people who are non-Christians and who question, the existence of God, what I would say is, good orating is not an inherited trait. Grace is not an inherited trait. they are learned behaviors through disciplined time with God. And I think if you are a non-believer and you sit down and you take a hard look at the things that are going on in your life and where you are most gifted, not where you're most talented. Again, you might be a great, hamburger bun maker. That doesn't really have anything to do with it, right? But if you have that unique ability to communicate with people, or that unique ability to, give people insight, think about why you have that, right? Because that's not an inherited trait. And think about the fact that that's your gift. And if you really look at that and you really study, I think you'll find a unique aspect of that might lead you down that road to realizing that God is real, right? Like that we are not crazy people who just show up and believe in the invisible dude. I mean,
well, I am crazy.
You are a dude.
I'm a dude.
But you're a believer. I mean, I'm trying to find the positive in this, Reggie. But anyway, dude, do it. Just think on it, right? Like, this is something that we don't give a lot of thought to. Spiritual gifts don't usually take a lot of revving up. They're pretty natural to you.
Yeah, I mean, but also, look, we all been gifted of something or another. Use it wisely, but don't be afraid to be skeptical. That's really my thing, because I think there's more of the abuse of this stuff nowadays than you
absolutely.
So it's so important nowadays to be truthful and honest, that we don't need that in the body of Christ.
Yeah, absolutely.
So be skeptical, do due diligence, whatever. That's okay. Investigate. Yeah. Be cool. Yeah. It's all right.
God gave us an inquisitive mind for a reason.
Yep, we're free will.
So, all right, man. That's all I got.
Cool.
All right. We're two guys. These are two chairs. These are two mics. Thank you.
See ya.